The silk sheets felt like ice against Nadia's trembling fingers. She stood frozen in the doorway of the guest room, her heart performing acrobatics she didn't know were possible. Somersaults, backflips, complete cardiac gymnastics. There, on the bed that she had picked out from that overpriced furniture store in Gangnam, was her husband. Her gentle, sweet, I would move mountains for you husband, Kim Jae-won, lying on top of their maid in what looked like a scene from a very unfortunate K-drama. Nadia! Jae-won's voice cracked as he scrambled off the bed, his eyes wider than she'd ever seen them. This isn't. I don't know how. The maid, Park Min-ji, had the audacity to look startled, clutching the sheets to her chest like some sort of caught criminal, which, Nadia thought with a bitter laugh bubbling in her throat, she absolutely was. Save it. Nadia's voice came out steady, which surprised even her. Her mama had always said she had that West African steel in her spine, passed down through generations of women who didn't crumble. Just save it. She turned on her heel, her box braids swinging with the movement, and walked away with her head high. Behind her, she could hear Jae-won calling her name, his footsteps thundering after her, but she kept moving. Down the hallway lined with their wedding photos. God, they looked so happy in those pictures. Down the stairs of their ridiculously large penthouse in Hanamdong. Past the living room where they'd spent countless nights watching movies and eating too much fried chicken. Nadia, please. Jae-won caught her arm, and she spun around so fast he actually stumbled back. The great Kim Jae-won, who supposedly ran half the underground operations in Seoul, who made grown men tremble with a single look, was stumbling over his own feet. Don't touch me. Her voice was still calm, but her eyes. She knew her eyes were blazing. Don't you dare touch me right now. I didn't do anything. I swear on my life. On everything we have. His voice broke. And was he actually crying? Kim Jae-won never cried. I went in there because she called for help. She said something fell and then, I don't know what happened. My head felt fuzzy, and suddenly I was on top of her. Nadia finished, her laugh sharp enough to cut glass. Yeah, I saw that part. It's not what it looked like. Jae-won. It looked like you were about to make love to our maid in our house while I was downstairs making dinner for you. The words hung in the air between them like smoke. Nadia watched emotions flicker across her husband's face. Desperation, anger, fear, and something else. Something that looked almost like realization. Min-ji, he said slowly, his jaw clenching. The tea she brought me before dinner. I felt strange after drinking it, but I thought I was just tired. Nadia wanted to believe him. God, how she wanted to believe him. But she'd seen too many episodes of this show before. Not in her own life, thank you Jesus, but she'd watched enough Friends get played to know the script. And right now, Jae-won was reading from the classic It Wasn't Me playbook. I'm leaving, she said quietly. Don't follow me. Where are you going? Nadia, please. I'm going to figure out when I became the idiot who didn't see this coming. She grabbed her bag from the console table, always kept packed with essentials because she'd learned from running her business that you never knew when you'd need to move fast, and walked out the door. 3 hours earlier. Yoni, you look absolutely radiant today. Nadia looked up from her laptop to find Min-ji standing in the doorway of her home office, holding a tray with tea and those honey cookies from the bakery Nadia loved. The maid's smile was bright, her makeup perfectly applied, her uniform pristine. Too perfect. Something whispered in the back of Nadia's mind, but she pushed it away because she wasn't that woman. She wasn't going to be suspicious and bitter and treat people badly because of her own insecurities. Except, were they really insecurities if there was something genuinely off? Thank you, Min-ji, Nadia said, accepting the tea with a smile that felt a little forced. You didn't have to. Of course I did. You work so hard with your business. 3 clothing stores across Seoul? That's incredible. You're such an inspiration. The compliments felt sticky, like honey left out too long in the sun. Nadia took a sip of tea to avoid responding immediately. It was good chrysanthemum with a hint of honey, exactly how she liked it. Is Appa home yet? Min-ji asked, and there it was, that little too casual tone when asking about Jae-won. The way her eyes lit up just a fraction too much. He should be here soon, Nadia said, turning back to her laptop. He had a meeting in Itaewon. Oh, I should prepare his favorite snacks then. He must be so tired after working so hard. Minji practically floated out of the room. Nadia stared at the doorway for a long moment. When had she started feeling like a guest in her own home? When had the dynamic shifted from her being the lady of the house to feeling like she had to compete for that position? Her phone buzzed. A text from her best friend and business partner, Jessica. Sis, I'm telling you something is OFF about that girl. My spirit doesn't sit right with her. Nadia smiled despite herself. Jessica was half Korean, half black, though Nadia's roots were Nigerian while Jessica's were African American. And she had what she called her spiritual antenna, always up and running. You're paranoid, Nadia texted back. No, I'm black. There's a difference. Come to my place tonight. Girls' night. You need to get out of that house. Before Nadia could respond, she heard the front door open and Jaewon's voice calling out, I'm home. Her heart still did that stupid flutter thing it had done since the first day she met him 3 years ago. She'd been at a Fashion Week after party. Absolutely exhausted but glowing from the success of her first runway show, when this ridiculously handsome man had approached her with the worst pickup line she'd ever heard. Are you a bank loan? Because you have my interest. She'd laughed so hard she'd snorted champagne, and he'd looked so mortified and charmed at the same time that she'd given him her number. Later, she'd found out he was Kim Jae-won, the mysterious businessman who everyone whispered about, but no one quite understood. The Mafia connection hadn't been confirmed until months into their relationship, and by then, Nadia was already in too deep. Not that she cared. Jae-won had never brought his work home. He'd never made her feel unsafe. He'd been nothing but gentle, caring, and so supportive of her business dreams that he'd helped her secure funding for her second store without her even asking. She heard his footsteps on the stairs, and then he was there, filling her doorway with his presence. At 6'1", with sharp features and soft eyes, wearing his tailored suit like it was made by angels, he still took her breath away. There's my beautiful wife, he said, crossing the room to kiss her forehead. How was your day? Productive, she said, leaning into him. The new summer collection is almost ready. We're ahead of schedule. That's my baby, he murmured against her temple, always exceeding expectations. Appa, Minji's voice floated up from downstairs. Your snacks are ready. Nadia felt Jae-won tense slightly, or maybe she imagined it. I should go change, he said, pulling away. I'll be down in a few minutes. After he left, Nadia sat in her office for a long moment, staring at nothing. Something was wrong. She could feel it in her bones, in the way the air seemed to thicken when Minji was around, in the way Jae-won's sister, Kim Seo-yeon, had been avoiding her lately. Seo-yeon. Now there was a complicated relationship. Her sister-in-law had never quite warmed to Nadia, though she hid it well behind polite smiles and formal greetings. It had been Seo-yeon who insisted they needed a maid, who had brought Minji to their home 2 months ago with glowing recommendations. She's perfect, Seo-yeon had said. Trust me. And like a fool Nadia had. Her phone buzzed again. Another text from Jessica. I'm serious about tonight. Something's telling me you need to come over. Like now. But Nadia had dinner to make, and she'd promised Jae-won they'd watch that new movie together. And she wasn't going to be that wife who ran to her friends every time she had a weird feeling. So she pushed aside her instincts, closed her laptop, and headed downstairs to start dinner. Now, 3 hours later, the hotel room was nice, expensive, the kind of place Nadia could afford because her business was thriving, because she'd worked her ass off for the past 5 years building something from nothing. She sat on the edge of the bed, still in her clothes, staring at her phone. 47 missed calls from Jae-won. 23 texts, each one more desperate than the last. Please come home. Let me explain. I love you more than my own life. Nothing happened. Please, Nadia. Please. There was a knock on her door, and for a wild moment, she thought it might be him. But when she looked through the peephole, she saw Jessica's face, twisted with concern. How did you find you? Jessica pushed past her into the room. Girl, you have location sharing on. What happened? Your text just said you left. And then Nadia broke. All that steel in her spine turned to water, and she collapsed into her best friend's arms, sobbing like her heart was being torn out of her chest piece by piece. I found him, she gasped between sobs. With her. With Minji. I'm going to kill him, Jessica said flatly. I'm going to absolutely murder him. He said he didn't know how it happened, that he felt fuzzy after drinking tea. Wait, Jessica pulled back, holding Nadia's shoulders. Tea? What tea? Minji brought him tea before dinner. Why? Jessica's eyes narrowed. Because I've been doing some digging. Your husband's not the only one with connections in this city. She pulled out her phone, scrolling quickly. Minji. Park Minji. She wasn't just some random maid. She's Jaewon's ex-girlfriend from before he left Korea for business school. The room tilted. Nadia sat down hard on the bed. What? 5 years ago, before you met him. They dated for 2 years. Seo-yeon loved her, apparently. Thought she was perfect for the family. Jessica's voice was tight with barely controlled anger. And you're telling me Seo-yeon is the one who brought her into your house? Nadia's mind was racing, pieces clicking into place like a horrible puzzle. The way Seo-yeon had been so insistent about hiring Minji. The way Minji always seemed to know exactly how Jaewon liked things. The way his sister had been distant lately, guilty almost. That bitch, Nadia whispered. She set me up. Correction. They set him up. To make you leave. Jessica was pacing now, furious. God. This is some Macjang drama shit. But it's real life. And I am about to catch a case. Nadia's phone rang again. Jaewon. She stared at it, then at Jessica. Don't answer it yet, Jessica said. Let him sweat. Let him think about what he's lost. And tomorrow we're going to figure out exactly what happened and make sure everyone involved pays. But Nadia couldn't help herself. She answered. Nadia. His voice was wrecked. Raw. I'm standing outside your hotel. Please, just 5 minutes. Let me explain everything. How did you? I know everything, he said. I figured it out. Minji confessed. Seo-yeon. His voice cracked. My sister confessed. They drugged me. They set this up. And I am so sorry I didn't see it sooner, that I didn't protect you from my own family. Nadia closed her eyes. I need time. I'll wait, he said immediately. I'll wait forever if I have to. But please, Nadia, please know that I would never, ever betray you. You're my everything. You're my whole world. She hung up without responding and looked at Jessica. He's outside. Of course he is. Dramatic ass. But Jessica's voice was softer now. What do you want to do? I want to know everything, Nadia said, standing up and wiping her eyes. And then I want to decide if my marriage is worth saving, or if I'm better off alone. Either way, Jessica said, linking her arm through Nadia's. We're going to make sure those 2 witches get exactly what they deserve. Nadia nodded, feeling that steel returned to her spine. She was Nadia Okeke Kim, successful businesswoman, wife, and a woman who had never let anyone break her. She wasn't about to start now. The penthouse felt like a mausoleum when Nadia walked back through the doors 48 hours later. She hadn't come home. She'd come for her things, for closure, for answers. Jaewon stood in the foyer looking like he hadn't slept in days, which, according to Jessica's intel network, which was honestly impressive and slightly terrifying, he hadn't. Thank you for coming, he said quietly, keeping his distance like she was a wild animal that might bolt, which, fair assessment considering she absolutely was ready to bolt. Where are they? Nadia asked, her voice ice. Seo-yeon is in the study. Minji is. He swallowed hard. Gone. I paid her off and made it clear that if she ever comes near you again, she'll regret it. How very Mafia of you, Nadia said drilly, but something in her chest loosened slightly. At least the woman was gone. She walked past him into the study where Seo-yeon sat on the couch, looking small and defeated in a way Nadia had never seen her. The proud, elegant Kim Seo-yeon, who always looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine, was wearing wrinkled clothes and no makeup, her hair tied back messily. Good, Nadia thought savagely. Yoni, Seo-yeon started, standing up, but Nadia held up a hand. Don't you dare call me that. You don't get to call me sister after what you did. Seo Yun's face crumpled. I know, and I'm so sorry. Why? Nadia's voice cracked despite her best efforts. Why did you hate me so much? What did I ever do to you? For a long moment, Seo Yun just stood there, tears streaming down her face. Then, quietly, she said, You didn't do anything. That was the problem. Nadia blinked. What? You're perfect? Seo Yun said, the words tumbling out like she'd been holding them in forever. You're beautiful, successful, kind, funny. Everyone who meets you loves you. My brother looks at you like you hung the moon. And you're not Korean, and I thought that made you wrong for our family. So you tried to destroy my marriage? Nadia's voice rose. You drugged your own brother and put him in bed with his ex-girlfriend? That was your solution. I wasn't thinking clearly. Seo Yun sobbed. Minji came back into town 6 months ago. She reached out to me, said she'd made a mistake letting Jae-won go. She was everything I thought he should have, traditional Korean from a good family. And I convinced myself that if you saw them together, you'd leave, and everything would go back to how it was supposed to be. Supposed to be? Jae-won's voice came from behind Nadia, cold in a way she'd never heard. You mean when I was miserable with Minji? When she cared more about my money and status than about me as a person? Seo Yun flinched. Appa. When Nadia came into my life, I finally understood what love was supposed to feel like. Jae-won continued, moving to stand beside Nadia. Not too close, he was still giving her space, but present. United front. She didn't care that I ran businesses people whispered about. She didn't care about the money or the connections. She cared about me. The man who tells terrible jokes and watches cooking shows at 3 a.m. and cries during animated movies. Despite everything, Nadia felt her lips twitch. He did cry during animated movies. It was annoyingly endearing. And you tried to take that away from me, Jae-won said, his voice breaking. You're my sister. You're supposed to protect me, not destroy the best thing that ever happened to me. Seo Yun sank back onto the couch, her whole body shaking with sobs. I know, and I hate myself. I've hated myself since the moment I saw Nadia's face when she found you. I've never seen someone's heart break in real time before, and I caused that. Me. Nadia felt something shift in her chest. Not forgiveness. She wasn't there yet, might never be there, but maybe understanding. She'd seen it before in her business, in her community. People who let fear and prejudice poison their judgment, who made horrible decisions and then had to live with the consequences. You understand I can never trust you again, Nadia said quietly, right? Whatever relationship we had, whatever I thought we were building, that's gone. Seo Yun nodded, wiping her eyes. I understand. I hope that someday, maybe years from now, you might be able to forgive me. Not forget, I don't deserve that, but forgive. Nadia looked at Jae-won, who was watching her with so much hope and fear and love in his eyes it made her chest ache. I need to hear everything, she said. The whole story. No more secrets, no more half-truths. Everything. For the next 2 hours, they talked. Seo Yun explained how Minji had approached her, how they'd planned it all carefully. The tea had been drugged with something mild, enough to make Jae-won compliant and confused but not enough to actually knock him out. Minji had called him to her room claiming she needed help moving furniture, then had positioned them on the bed right before Nadia was due to come looking for him for dinner. We timed it perfectly, Seo Yun admitted, looking sick. I knew you always called him for dinner at 7. I knew you'd come looking. Jae-won looked like he wanted to put his fist through a wall. You're my sister. How could you? Because I'm a coward, Seo Yun said simply. Because I let my prejudice matter more than your happiness. Because I convinced myself I was protecting you when really I was just protecting my own narrow view of what your life should look like. She turned to Nadia, fresh tears streaming down her face. I grew up thinking everything had to be done a certain way. Korean husband, Korean wife, traditions maintained. When Jae-won brought you home, so vibrant and different and perfect, I felt threatened. Like you were going to take him away from his culture, from his family. But I was wrong. You didn't take him from anything. You gave him everything he'd been missing. Nadia sat down slowly, processing everything. Part of her, the part that was still bleeding, wanted to rage and scream. But another part, the part that had built a business from nothing by understanding people and their motivations, recognized genuine remorse when she saw it. "You hurt me," Nadia said, her voice steady despite the tears threatening to fall. "You hurt me in a way I didn't know I could be hurt. You made me question everything. My marriage, my worth, whether I belonged here." "I know," So-Yun whispered, "and I need you to know that your actions showed me exactly what you thought of me. Not as your brother's wife, not as a person, but as someone you saw as less than, as not good enough because of my skin color." The words hung in the air like an accusation, because that's what they were. So-Yun didn't deny it. She just sat there, shoulders shaking, accepting the truth of what she'd done. "I was racist," So-Yun said, the words seeming to physically pain her. "I am racist, and I'm so ashamed. I thought I was better than that, but when it came down to it, I let those ugly thoughts win. And I hurt the best thing that ever happened to my brother." Jae-won moved then, kneeling in front of Nadia's chair. "I'm cutting her off," he said firmly. "From the business, from family events, from everything. She's not welcome in our home or our lives until you say otherwise." "Appa, no," So-Yun started. "Yes," Jae-won said, not looking at her. "You tried to destroy my marriage. There are consequences." Nadia looked at this man she'd married. This dangerous man who ran underground operations but who'd never raised his voice to her, who'd supported every dream she'd ever had, who was currently on his knees ready to exile his own sister for her. "Stand up," she said softly. He did, confusion in his eyes. "I'm not ready to forgive," Nadia said, looking between them. "Either of you. What happened was, it's going to take time to heal from. A lot of time." "I understand," Jae-won said immediately. "Whatever you need, whatever time you need, I'll wait." "But," Nadia continued, surprising herself, "I don't think cutting off So-Yun completely is the answer." Both of them stared at her like she'd grown a second head. "She needs to face what she's done," Nadia explained. "She needs to look at us, at our marriage, and see every day what she almost destroyed. She needs to unlearn the racism she's been carrying around. And she can't do that if she's cut off from the family." So-Yun's eyes went wide. "Nadia, I don't deserve." "You don't," Nadia agreed bluntly. "But I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this because I'm not going to let your actions dictate how my family operates. My family, which includes my husband. And if he exiles you because of me, he'll resent it eventually, even if he doesn't mean to." "I would never," Jae-won started. "You would," Nadia said gently, "because she's your sister, and you love her, even when she's a racist, manipulative snake." Despite everything, So-Yun let out a wet laugh at that. "So here's what's going to happen," Nadia said, standing up and pacing, her business negotiation voice coming out. "So-Yun, you're going to therapy. Real therapy, with someone who specializes in prejudice and racism. You're going to do the work to understand why you did what you did and how to be better." So-Yun nodded frantically. "Yes, anything. And you're going to volunteer at the African Cultural Center in Itaewon. 2 days a week minimum. You're going to expose yourself to the communities you've been prejudiced against and actually learn about people instead of making assumptions." "I will. I promise." "And," Nadia said, her voice hardening, "you're going to write a formal apology to me. A real one. Not just, 'I'm sorry,' but explaining what you did, why it was wrong, and what you're going to do to change. And I'm going to keep that letter, and if you ever do anything like this again, I'll make sure everyone in your social circle sees it." So-Yun paled but nodded. "That's fair." Nadia turned to Jae-won. "As for you," he straightened, looking like a man awaiting sentencing. "You didn't cheat on me," Nadia said. "I believe that now. But you brought Minji's presence into our lives without ever telling me who she was. You saw your sister bringing her around and didn't question it." "You're right," Jae-won said immediately. "I should have told you the moment I saw her. I didn't think it mattered. She was in the past. And I was so completely in love with you that I didn't even register her as a threat." "That's not how marriage works," Nadia said. "We're supposed to be partners." That means transparency, even about the uncomfortable stuff. I know. I'm sorry. So you're going to do something for me? Nadia said, moving closer to him. You're going to tell me everything. Every ex-girlfriend. Every business rival who might want to hurt us. Every family secret that could blow up in our faces. No more protecting me by keeping me in the dark. Done, Jae-won said without hesitation. I'll tell you everything. And, Nadia said, poking him in the chest. You're going to stop being so ridiculously perfect and trusting. Someone offers you tea, you ask what's in it. Your sister brings a helpful maid, you question her motives. You're smart enough to run an empire, Jae-won. Use that brain in your personal life too. Despite everything, he smiled. Are you saying I'm too nice? I'm saying you're too trusting of the wrong people, Nadia corrected. Trust me? Absolutely. Trust random maids and scheming sisters? Not so much. Noted. His eyes were hopeful now. Does this mean? Are you coming home? Nadia was quiet for a long moment, looking around the penthouse that had been her home for 2 years. Then she looked at Jae-won, really looked at him, and saw the man she'd fallen in love with. The one who'd supported her business dreams, who'd learned to cook Nigerian food just to surprise her, who'd stood up to his own family when they questioned his choice of wife. I'm coming home, she said finally. But we're doing couples therapy, and you're sleeping on the couch for at least a week. A month, Jae-won said immediately. I'll sleep on the couch for a month, 2 months, however long you need. A week will be fine, Nadia said. Then, shocking everyone including herself, she started laughing. God, we're a mess. A beautiful, complicated, dramatic mess. Jae-won's face split into a grin, and he pulled her into his arms, and she let him because she'd missed this, missed him, missed them. I love you, he murmured into her hair. I love you so much it physically hurts. I love you too, Nadia said. But if anything like this ever happens again, I'll turn myself in to whatever authorities you deem fit, Jae-won promised. Your best friend Jessica can probably murder me and make it look like an accident anyway. She absolutely could. Nadia agreed, then pulled back to look at Seo-yeon, who was watching them with tears streaming down her face. And you have a lot of work to do to earn back even a fraction of my trust. I know, Seo-yeon said, and I'll do it. Every day for the rest of my life if I have to. Good, Nadia said, because I'm not going anywhere. I'm Mrs. Kim Nadia Okeke, and I built a life here, and I'm not letting anyone. Not you, not Minji, not anyone. Take that away from me. As she stood there, surrounded by the wreckage and the rebuilding of her family, Nadia felt something shift inside her. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe the beginning of healing. And sometimes that was enough. 3 months later, Nadia's phone rang at 3 a.m., which was never a good sign. She fumbled for it, squinting at the screen. Jae-won, who'd finally been allowed back in their bed 2 weeks ago, the couch sentence had been extended due to a few trust hiccups, mumbled, Who is it? Your sister, Nadia said, sitting up. Seo-yeon never called this late. Hello, Nadia. Seo-yeon's voice was weird, shaky but also kind of breathless, like she'd been running or laughing or both. I need your help. Nadia was immediately alert, the worst-case scenarios running through her mind. Are you okay? Are you hurt? No, nothing like that. Seo-yeon paused. I'm at the Itaewon police station. What? Nadia was out of bed now, and Jae-won was sitting up too, looking alarmed. It's not what you think, Seo-yeon said quickly. I'm not arrested. Well, I was, but they let me go. Sort of. It's complicated. Seo-yeon explained. Now, so you know how I've been volunteering at the African Cultural Center? Yes, Nadia said slowly. Well, tonight there was this group of drunk ajushis harassing some of the people leaving the center after an event. They were saying terrible things, racist things, and I snapped. Despite her concern, Nadia felt her lips twitch. You snapped. I punched one of them, Seo-yeon admitted, in the face. And then I may have, accidentally on purpose, knocked another one into a fruit stand. And then there was some yelling and the police came and technically I committed assault, But also those men were being horrible and, "I'll be there in 20 minutes, Nadia said, already pulling on clothes. "Don't say anything else to the police until I get there." She hung up and looked at J1, who was staring at her with his mouth open. "Did my sister just say she punched a racist drunk guy?" "Guys. Plural," Nadia corrected, grabbing her bag. "I'm going to get her." "I'm coming with you," J1 said immediately, but Nadia shook her head. "No, this is between me and her. But you can call your lawyer friend and have him meet us there, just in case." 30 minutes later, Nadia was sitting in the police station watching Seo-yun explain what happened to a police officer who looked deeply exhausted. Next to Seo-yun sat a tall black man with kind eyes and an impressive split lip, and Nadia was putting pieces together rapidly. "So let me get this straight," the officer said, rubbing his temples. "This group of men were harassing people. Ms. Kim intervened, violence ensued, and Mr. Thompson here is refusing to press charges?" "Correct," said Mr. Thompson, who had an American accent. "She was defending people. That's not a crime." "Assault is still assault," the officer said tiredly. "Then arrest me too," said another voice. And Nadia turned to see an elderly Korean woman standing up from the waiting area. "I threw my purse at one of those men." "And me," said a younger woman. "I filmed the whole thing. Those men started it." Suddenly, the entire waiting area was full of people claiming they'd been involved, all providing witness statements that painted the drunk men as the aggressors. The officer looked like he wanted to retire on the spot. "Fine," he finally said. "Everyone go home. The men are being charged with public disturbance and harassment. Ms. Kim, consider this a warning. No more vigilante justice." Outside the station, Seo-yun took a deep breath of cool night air. "I know I should have called J1. But you called me," Nadia finished. "Why?" Seo-yun looked at her, really looked at her, and Nadia saw something different in her sister-in-law's eyes. Less shame, more strength. "Because you would understand. You've dealt with this your whole life, and I'm just now realizing how exhausting and infuriating it must be. And I thought, maybe you wouldn't judge me for finally getting angry about it." Nadia felt something warm bloom in her chest. Not quite forgiveness, but close. Very close. "You're doing the work," she said quietly. "I'm trying," Seo-yun said. "The therapy helps. The volunteering helps more. And..." She glanced at Mr. Thompson, who was talking to some of the other people from the cultural center. "I've been learning a lot." "About what?" "About how blind I've been. About how much I didn't know. About..." Seo-yun's voice dropped. "About how much I hurt you, and how what I did was part of a bigger pattern of racism that I'd been participating in without even realizing it." Nadia nodded slowly. This was what she'd been waiting to hear. Not just apologies, but understanding. "Mr. Thompson," she called out, and the man walked over. "I'm Nadia, Seo-yun's sister-in-law." "Marcus," he said, shaking her hand. His eyes crinkled when he smiled. "You're the one with the clothing stores, right? Seo-yun talks about you constantly." Nadia raised an eyebrow at her sister-in-law, who suddenly looked very interested in her shoes. "Does she now? Always about how brilliant you are, how she doesn't deserve your patience, how you're teaching her what real strength looks like." Marcus's voice was warm. "She admires you a lot." "I do," Seo-yun said quietly. "You could have destroyed me after what I did. You had every right. But instead, you gave me a chance to do better. That's more grace than I deserved." Nadia felt tears prick her eyes. "Your family," she said simply. "Complicated, messy, occasionally problematic family, but family nonetheless. And family fights like hell for each other, even when they're mad." "Speaking of family," Marcus said, glancing at his watch, "I should probably make sure everyone gets home safe. Are you two okay?" "We're good," Nadia said, then impulsively added, "But you should come by our place for dinner sometime. I make a mean jollof rice, and I have a feeling Seo-yun would like that." Seo-yun's eyes went wide, and Marcus grinned. "I'd love that." After he left, Seo-yun turned to Nadia. "Did you just try to set me up?" "Did I?" Nadia asked innocently. "I just invited a nice man who defended you to dinner." Very different things. Nadia. He's cute, he's smart, and he clearly has good judgment if he thinks you're worth defending, Nadia said, linking her arm through Seo Yun's as they walked to her car. Plus, the cosmic irony of you falling for a black American man after all this? Chef's kiss. Seo Yun laughed, a real laugh, and for the first time since everything had happened, things felt almost normal between them. I missed this, Seo Yun said quietly. I missed having a sister. I missed it too, Nadia admitted. Even though I was furious with you, even though I'm still hurt, I missed having someone who understood the Korean side of my life. They drove in comfortable silence for a while until Seo Yun said, I wrote you something, besides the apology letter. Do you want to hear it? Now? Now feels right. Nadia pulled over into a parking lot and turned to face her. Okay. Seo Yun pulled out her phone and cleared her throat. I've been going to therapy like you asked, and my therapist suggested I write down what I learned. So here it is. She took a deep breath. I learned that I was scared of you, not because you were black, but because you were everything I wasn't: confident, successful, unapologetically yourself. You made my brother happier than I'd ever seen him, and instead of celebrating that, I felt threatened. Like if he was happy with you, maybe that meant Korean culture, Korean family, all the things I thought defined us weren't as important anymore. Nadia listened quietly. But I was wrong, Seo Yun continued, her voice shaking. You didn't take him away from his culture. You expanded his world. You showed him that love doesn't have borders or boundaries. And you did the same for me even though I didn't deserve it. You forced me to confront my own prejudices, my own narrow-mindedness. You made me better. Seo Yun. Nadia felt tears streaming down her face. I know sorry isn't enough, Seo Yun said. I know it'll never be enough. But I want you to know that every day, I wake up grateful that you gave me a chance. And every day, I try to be worthy of it. Nadia wiped her eyes, then reached over and pulled her sister-in-law into a hug. They stayed like that for a long moment, crying and healing and rebuilding something that had been shattered. You're doing good, Nadia whispered. You're doing really good. When they finally pulled apart, both their faces were blotchy and their makeup was destroyed. And Seo Yun said, We look terrible. We look human, Nadia corrected. Now come on. Let's get home before your brother calls the police looking for us. 2 weeks later. I can't believe you convinced me to do this, Nadia muttered, adjusting her outfit for the third time. Jessica was sprawled on the bed in Nadia's dressing room, eating popcorn like she was watching a movie. Girl, you organized this whole thing. Don't act like I twisted your arm. You literally told me I should lean into the chaos of my life. And you listened. Character growth. Jessica threw a piece of popcorn at her. Now stop fidgeting. You look gorgeous. Nadia looked at herself in the mirror. She was wearing one of her own designs. A stunning evening gown that fused traditional Korean hanbok elements with West African prints. It was bold, it was beautiful, and it was so perfectly her that she felt a rush of confidence. Tonight was the launch party for her new collection, Between Worlds. Every piece was a fusion of Korean and Nigerian design elements, a visual representation of her life and her marriage. And she'd invited everyone, business partners, friends, family, and yes, even Seo Yun. Is he here yet? Nadia asked, meaning Marcus. Oh, he's here, Jessica said with a grin. And Seo Yun is pretending she's not hyper-aware of his every move. It's adorable and kind of painful to watch. Nadia smiled. In the 2 weeks since the police station incident, Marcus had become a regular fixture in their lives. He worked as a professor of Korean history at a university in Seoul, and he and Seo Yun had been spending a suspicious amount of time discussing cultural exchange programs over coffee. There was a knock on the door, and Jae-won poked his head in. Ready? Almost, Nadia said, walking over to kiss him. He looked unfairly handsome in his suit, and the way he looked at her, like she was the most precious thing in the world, still made her heart race. You're going to be amazing, he said softly. This collection is going to be huge. It better be, Nadia said. I put my whole heart into it. That's why it will be, he said, tucking a stray braid behind her ear. Because everything you touch turns to gold. Ugh. You two are disgusting, Jessica said, but she was smiling. Can we go? I want to see Seo-yun continue to badly hide her crush. The party was already in full swing when they entered. The venue was packed with Seoul's fashion elite, business moguls, and cultural influencers. Nadia's designs were displayed like art pieces, each one telling a story of cultural fusion and identity. Nadia, her business partner Minho, rushed over. The advance orders are already through the roof. We're talking about expanding to Tokyo and New York. Seriously. Nadia felt dizzy with excitement. Seriously, this collection is revolutionary. You're revolutionary. As the night went on, Nadia found herself surrounded by well-wishers and buyers and reporters wanting interviews. Her head was spinning in the best way possible when she finally managed to grab a quiet moment on the balcony. There you are. She turned to find Seo-yun standing there, looking elegant in a dress from Nadia's previous collection. Needed air. Needed a moment, Nadia admitted. It's a lot. It's incredible, Seo-yun said, coming to stand beside her. This collection, Nadia, it's so beautiful. And seeing you tonight, so confident and successful, her voice cracked. I'm so sorry I ever made you feel like you didn't belong. You belong everywhere you choose to be. Nadia felt tears threaten again. You're going to make me cry and ruin my makeup. Can't have that, Seo-yun said. But she was crying too. I just wanted you to know. And to thank you. For what? For giving me a chance to be better. For introducing me to Marcus. Don't think I don't know what you're doing, by the way. Nadia grinned. Is it working? We're having dinner tomorrow, Seo-yun admitted, blushing. Just the two of us. I asked him out. That's my girl. Nadia pulled her into a hug. See? Growth. When they pulled apart, Seo-yun said, I know things between us might never be exactly what they were before. They'll be better, Nadia interrupted. They'll be real, built on honesty and work and actual understanding instead of surface-level politeness. I'd like that, Seo-yun said softly. They were interrupted by Jae-won appearing with champagne glasses. I've been sent to retrieve you both. They're about to do the toast. Inside, Minho was gathering everyone's attention. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please. Tonight, we celebrate not just a collection, but a vision. Nadia Okeke Kim has shown us that fashion isn't just about clothes. It's about identity, culture, and the beautiful spaces in between. Nadia felt Jae-won's hand find hers, and when she looked at him, his eyes were shining with pride. To Nadia, Minho continued, raising his glass, to breaking boundaries, to building bridges, and to being unapologetically, brilliantly yourself. To Nadia, the room echoed. As everyone drank and applauded, Nadia looked around at her life, her business, her husband, her healing relationship with Seo-yun, her best friend Jessica making obscene gestures from across the room to make her laugh. The collection that represented everything she was and everything she'd overcome. 3 months ago, she'd stood in a hotel room contemplating the end of her marriage and her life in Korea. Now she was standing at the pinnacle of her career, surrounded by people who loved her, in a family that was messy and complicated but finally real. What are you thinking? Jae-won murmured in her ear. I'm thinking, Nadia said, leaning into him, that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Even after everything? Because of everything, she corrected. The pain, the betrayal, the healing. It all made us stronger. Made me stronger. You were always strong, Jae-won said, kissing her temple. You just didn't know how strong until you had to be. Later that night, after the party had wound down and they were back home, Nadia stood in their bedroom taking off her jewelry. Jae-won came up behind her, helping with her necklace. I have something for you, he said. Another gift? Jae-won, you've been spoiling me. This is different. He pulled out a small box, and Nadia's heart jumped until she saw it was too big to be a ring box. She already had a ring, the most beautiful one she'd ever seen. Inside was a key. What's this? It's the key to a building, Jae-won said, and his voice was excited in that boyish way that made her fall in love with him all over again. In Gangnam, I bought it for you. It's the perfect space for your flagship store. J1. Nadia felt tears start again. I know you can afford it yourself, he said quickly. I know you don't need me to buy you things, but I wanted to show you that I believe in you, in your vision, in everything you're building. And I wanted to be part of that in some way. You're already part of it, Nadia said, turning to cup his face. You've always been part of it. You believed in me from day one. I'm going to believe in you every day for the rest of our lives, J1 promised. Even when you don't believe in you. They kissed, soft and sweet and full of promise, and Nadia thought about how far they'd come. From the horror of finding him on that bed, through the pain and the anger and the slow, careful rebuilding of trust. From Seo-Yun's betrayal to her redemption arc. From almost losing everything to having more than she'd ever dreamed. I love you, she whispered against his lips. I love you too, he said. My brilliant, beautiful, unstoppable wife. The next morning, Nadia woke up to her phone exploding with notifications. Her collection was trending on social media. Fashion magazines were calling it groundbreaking. International buyers were requesting meetings. And there, in her messages, was a text from Seo-Yun. Thank you for last night. And thank you for the chance to be your sister again. Also, Marcus says hi. Also, I might be in love with him. Help. Nadia laughed, feeling lighter than she had in months. She typed back, told you the cosmic irony was perfect. Coffee this afternoon? We need to discuss how you're going to navigate dating while working through your character development arc. The response was immediate. Yes, please. And Nadia, I'm proud of you. Always have been, even when I was too prejudiced and stupid to show it. Nadia set down her phone and looked over at J1, still sleeping peacefully beside her. She thought about everything they'd been through, everything they'd overcome, and everything still ahead of them. Her business was thriving. Her marriage was stronger than ever. Her sister-in-law was becoming an actual ally and friend. Her best friend was probably planning some ridiculous celebration. Life wasn't perfect. There were still hard days. Still moments when Nadia remembered finding J1 on that bed and felt a flash of pain. Still times when Seo-Yun said something that revealed she still had work to do on her prejudices. But they were doing the work. They were showing up for each other. They were building something real and lasting from the ashes of betrayal. And that, Nadia thought, was the real love story. Not the fairy tale beginning, but the messy, complicated middle where you chose each other every day. Where you fought through the hard stuff and came out stronger on the other side. She got out of bed and walked to the window, looking out at Seoul spread below her like a promise. This city had become her home. This life had become hers. And she'd be damned if she'd let anyone, not racist in-laws, not scheming exes, not her own doubts, take it away from her. What are you smiling about? J1 asked, his voice sleep rough. Everything, Nadia said honestly. I'm smiling about absolutely everything. And she meant it. I swear to God, if you two don't stop being adorable, I'm going to vomit, Jessica announced, making dramatic gagging noises. Nadia and J1, who'd been feeding each other dessert like absolutely ridiculous people, pulled apart laughing. They were at Marcus's apartment for dinner, a regular occurrence now, and the place was packed with their little chosen family. You're just jealous, Nadia teased. I'm extremely jealous, Jessica agreed. Where's my hot Mafia husband who looks at me like I hung the moon? You have your pick of dates every week, J1 pointed out. Yeah, but none of them have that whole dangerous but soft for you thing you have going on. Jessica sighed dramatically. I guess I'll have to settle for being the cool aunt to your future babies. Babies? Nadia choked on her wine. Oh please, like you two aren't already planning them, Jessica said. Then her attention was caught by something across the room. Oh my God. Seo-Yun just kissed Marcus in the kitchen. This is not a drill. Everyone rushed to the kitchen doorway to spy on them. Sure enough, Seo-Yun and Marcus were standing by the sink, her arms around his neck, having what looked like a very sweet kiss. Finally, Nadia whispered, they've been dancing around each other for months. Your matchmaking skills are wasted on fashion, J1 murmured in her ear. You should start a side business. When Seo Yun and Marcus finally pulled apart and noticed their audience, Seo Yun turned bright red while Marcus just laughed. Really? We have an audience. This is what you get for being adorable in public, Jessica called out. No privacy in this family. As everyone filed back into the living room, making teasing comments and demanding details, Nadia caught Seo Yun's eye. Her sister-in-law mouthed thank you, and Nadia winked back. Later, when everyone was full of food and slightly tipsy and sprawled around Marcus's living room, someone suggested they go around and share something. J1. Nadia pulled back to look at him. I love you. I chose you. And I choose you every day. That's what marriage is. Choosing each other over and over, especially when it's hard. Then I choose you, he said. Every day for the rest of my life. I choose you. They kissed as the city sparkled around them. Two people who'd been broken and had fought their way back to wholeness. Together. And if that wasn't the sweetest love story of all, Nadia didn't know what was.
Besties, in this story we learned that true love isn't proven in perfect moment, but in how you rebuild after betrayal. Forgiveness is powerful, but it requires genuine work. So Yoon had to actively unlearn her racism and prejudice, not just apologize. Choose yourself first. Nadia left when she was hurt, prioritized her healing, and only returned on her own terms. Besties, growth is possible for everyone. Even people who hurt us deeply can change if they are willing to do hard work. Besties, second chances should be earned, not given freely. Nadia didn't just forgive, she set her boundaries and consequences. Besties, love yourself enough to demand better, be brave enough to hold people accountable, and be wise enough to recognize genuine change when you see it, but never ever settle for less than you deserve. Thank you so much for watching. Kindly like, subscribe, and share. Happy new month, besties. I love you all.